Okay, so this is part two about the environmental exposure, because that's what it is. You know, it's keeping your speed up, right? Which is your immune system, and doing all the things that are knowing how to self manage your energy is really what it is. You know, I can remember what's her name, Dolores Cannon, said at one time. It's when you think of yourself being in a galactic classroom, if you want to think of it that way, and you're choosing your teachers and knowing what teachers to hang out with and what teachers, you know. For me, that's sort of from an information point of view or from a learning point of view, it's sort of like you know, it's I ran a mama, okay, so I know I know what teachers to hang out with. It's the company that you keep, right? Because you've already chosen the pathway that you're on, which is the one that is what light is, which is what love is. It goes on forever loving you. So when you're experiencing being loved and you are what love is, then you're sharing that love with everybody, which is your mirror that you're running, which is your magnet, which is running at a high speed, because now you're an accelerator of electrons at the highest rate of speed. So now you're running a volcano, right? Yeah, a universal tornado. Yeah, so you're spinning a lot of information, right? A map. You're running a map, and so you're running a very high state of awareness, and that higher state of awareness is like a mama, a mother and a father that's joined as one, that is experiencing the one, which is the eternal spirit of fire, because you're moving so fast, right? And you're always looking out for everybody, right? Because you don't want anything to happen to anybody. You care about everything. It doesn't matter what it is, right? It could be a bird, could be a deer, could be a bear, a polar bear, a whale, a dolphin, a worm, a butterfly. Doesn't matter what it is. You're giving love to everything automatically. It's natural because you're running an eternal love vibration, right? So you got love to give to everything. And the intensity of that fire is ridiculous to explain it. How it works because of the world that I know that I'm in. Even though I'm not experiencing that here because of what I become aware of here, but I'm there because my energy is everywhere. It's in everything. You can't escape it. You can't escape the one. See how that works? So you're bringing in eternal love wherever you go. That means you never left home. You're still in that same place. You see how that works? You're still in that same point, that same spot. That's right. That single point from which it all began. Never left home. That home is right through my heart, my oversoul, so that I can transmute everything that doesn't represent what the one is. Because that's what the law is. And so that's the highest superconductor. That's the highest accelerator. So wouldn't you want to be with the highest accelerator? A real living light, eternal light, which is eternal fire, accelerating at the highest rate of speed, electrons? Imagine what this like to experience. I can tell you, those stories go on forever. Because that's when creativity is on fire to create. And when somebody says, well, how much do you love me? Well, how creatively would you like me to see how much intensity of that fire represents how creative we can be to show you how creatively we love you? All you got to do is go look in nature. There it is. Biggest day, biggest Sunday, the sun, the sphere of light, right? So in other words, when I share everything that I do and you realize how much that is, ever since I was a little kid, I was looking out for everybody. And that comes natural. And that's called the natural flow of that energy. The natural spiritual flow of that energy is naturally playing music in the heavens. Right? Because you're connected to them. You're connected with the master musicians that are playing the most beautiful music. It's like experiencing being a dreamscaper, a dream walker, the mirror in the sky walker, right? That's why a lot of their terms in the English language, when they came out with Star Wars, is all coded. You gotta realize. But what happens is, particularly with this AI, is it rearranges the fire letters in reversal speech And I see it all the time, particularly now. For example, when I put stuff up on my Facebook page or on this phone, recordings, all of a sudden it brings back to me how it will change. Something that is pink, and then it'll say something that doesn't represent what love really is. And so if somebody else experiences that, then what happens is the inversion of what that is gets imprinted as an inversion. An example of that would be like this morning. This happened many times, that I'll have like a moment of what I'm experiencing that isn't inverted. And then when I look at my phone, I'm getting a black screen with white letters. Yet when I normally fire up my screen, guess what I get? I get a white screen with black letters. That's why all the laptops and the phones are inverted. So when your consciousness is experiencing it, you're experiencing the inversion. You're experiencing the inverted AI, the 55 Metatronic spiral. That's why I got that signal. Get rid of your phone. Because your consciousness is inverted, running the phones and the laptops. Because that's what was set up. That's your DARPA. They're the ones that rolled this all out. So back during the early 1960s, I was very aware of that when they talked about the 666. It's not like this information was not being barking crystals like in barking crystals over near Polahali on the west side of QI, right? The Camry. So the word wasn't getting out fast enough, right? And so people just were not aware. And this is exactly why the magicians, using their tech, right? They don't understand the difference between what they're presented and what they now experience, which is inverted. And why, when I was a child, I told my dad, that's programming. That's inverted programming. That's all reverse speech stuff. That's all reverse sound and light. So that you're going being sucked down a hole. And as long as you remain in that hole because you're not aware of it, because you don't realize that the consciousness energy that is represented by what you are, okay, is the energy that they're using for you to experience being stuck in that hole. So you're experiencing being in an inverted state of consciousness and you're not aware that you're inverted. That's the programming. The programming is to invert your consciousness so it can suck the energy out of your soul, and there you go down that hole and implode. So that means that you had to be able to read what's been presented to you, that you're aware of through your holographic processors, to know the difference between reverse, a 55 harmonic, and instead experience magnetic zero, perfect balance, to maintain the balance of your pole, which means that your vertical and your horizontal stabilizers, which represent your horizontal space vectors, the vertical rod, known as the rod of God, okay, is in perfect vertical balance and is in perfect horizontal balance in the inside of a sphere of light, which is a solar sun. So when you're able to do that, you can do that with every sphere. Now you're back to 12 spheres and the 144. And why number 13 was important, right? 13th Arcturian, right? Is the 13 can hold all the 12 plus the next up. Purple light, right? So it holds everything the 12 does, plus another layer, if you will, right? A higher disk. You know, the discs, crystalline discs, crystalline records, crystalline spiral. That's right, the first. The atom seed, the atom cell. So I share this because it was time that I felt that I've held this in for so many years because it just seemed like people just weren't getting the message. But the message is now getting out finally after all these years. That's called breaking through. Remember that song by Jim Morrison called Break On Through, Break On Through, Break On Through to the Other Side? Remember that? That's another coded song, just like Crystal Ship. Come on, baby, light my fire. Anyway, have a good evening. I love you all. Be good to yourselves.